You've probably been told this before. Just get more sunlight. That'll fix your vitamin D. Maybe you've even tried it. Sitting outside, walking at midday, adding a D supplement, maybe even a high dose one. But here's the frustrating part. Your labs still say you're low. Your energy's not back. Your bones feel just as brittle. Your joints still ache when the weather changes. So what gives? Let me tell you something. Most doctors still don't say out loud, the real reason your vitamin D isn't working may have nothing to do with the sun or your supplement. The deeper issue, a silent deficiency that blocks vitamin D's full power from the inside. I call it the big D lie, and it's a lie hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that without enough magnesium, your body literally can't activate vitamin D? You can swallow all the pills and chase all the sunlight you want, but without this mineral, vitamin D just sits there, inert. It's like putting fuel in your car but never turning the key. And here's the kicker. By the time you turn 60, your risk of magnesium depletion skyrockets. Medications like diuretics, reflux drugs, and even common antibiotics drain it slowly. Add to that weaker stomach acid, lower appetite, or just eating less variety, and you've got the perfect storm, a storm that blocks the exact nutrient your doctor keeps telling you to boost. If you've got bone thinning, muscle cramps, brain fog, or even low mood, this matters. If you're relying on vitamin D to protect your immunity, your heart, or your energy, it matters even more. Because low magnesium isn't just blocking your supplement, it's accelerating aging, and no one's checking for it. Today, I'm going to show you the missing link between magnesium and vitamin D. You'll learn why sunlight alone isn't enough, why your supplement might be failing, and how to fix this in just 1 week with food, timing, and safe habits. We'll start from the basics, what vitamin D actually does, then walk through the magnesium mechanism, and end with a 7-day plan to flip the switch back on. Ready to see what your doctor never told you? Let's get into it. So why does this hit harder after 50? Because as you age, your body doesn't absorb, convert, or use nutrients the same way it used to. That includes the 2 critical players we're talking about today, vitamin D and magnesium. Your skin gets thinner, so it produces less D from the same amount of sun. Your kidneys slow down, which affects how you convert D into its active form, and your gut, it's not as efficient at pulling magnesium from food, especially if you're eating less, digesting slower, or relying on more processed meals. Then there's your medication list. Statins, PPIs, blood pressure meds, even some antibiotics. They all drain magnesium quietly over time. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough to dull your D response and start the slow slide into weakness, fatigue, or brittle bones. And here's what's worse. Most standard blood tests don't even catch it. You can have normal magnesium on paper and still be functionally low in your tissues. That's not just a lab problem, it's a quality of life problem, because when your magnesium's down, your vitamin D stops working properly. And that affects more than bones. It weakens your immune system, slows down your muscle repair, interferes with how your brain regulates mood and memory. In short, it speeds up the parts of aging that rob you of energy, independence, and confidence. Think about how this shows up in real life. You're eating well, but still feel stiff or tired. You're walking daily, but still cramping. You're following every doctor's order, maybe even over-supplementing, but still don't feel quite right. That's why this magnesium link is so important. It explains why some people thrive on a small dose of vitamin D, while others stay deficient no matter how hard they try. And this isn't rare. According to national health surveys, nearly half of older adults may not be getting enough magnesium from their diet. And most don't know, because no one talks about it. That's why in this video, I'm not just giving you a list of foods or another supplement pitch. I'm showing you a map, a mechanism, a way to understand your body better so you stop chasing symptoms and start fixing the system. Let's move on to the basics. What vitamin D actually does inside your body and why it can't do it alone. Let's clear something up right now. Vitamin D is not just a bone vitamin. That's old thinking. Vitamin D works more like a hormone, a messenger. It tells your cells what to do, especially in your bones, muscles, immune system, and even your brain. When it's working well, it helps you absorb calcium from food. That's crucial for strong bones, yes, but it also helps regulate how your muscles contract, how your nerves fire, and how your immune system responds to threats. Low vitamin D doesn't just mean you're more likely to get a fracture. It means you may not recover as well from illness. It means your balance might feel off. It means your energy, mood, and memory could take a hit. In fact, some researchers now link low D levels to brain fog, seasonal depression, and even cognitive decline. That's not all. Vitamin D helps reduce inflammation, a major root of aging-related problems like joint pain, fatigue, and even cardiovascular disease. It modulates over 200 genes. This isn't a background player, it's a director in your body's internal orchestra. Now here's where it gets critical. Vitamin D only works when it's in its active form. The version you get from sunlight or supplements called D3 is inactive. Your body has to convert it first in your liver, then again in your kidneys, into the usable form, calcitriol. And guess what that conversion process needs? Magnesium. Without enough magnesium, your body can't flip the switch. It's like having a warehouse full of tools but no power to turn the lights on. So when you're low in D on a lab test, it might not be about sunlight at all. It could be that your activation process is broken. That's why some people with good sun exposure still test low. That's why some folks on 2,000 or 5,000 IU of D3 daily still don't feel better, because their magnesium tank is empty and no one told them that was part of the equation. Next, I'll walk you through exactly how magnesium unlocks vitamin D and why this one mineral could be the missing link in your entire health strategy. So how exactly does magnesium unlock vitamin D? Think of it like this. Vitamin D is the raw material, but magnesium is the worker who assembles it. Without the worker, nothing gets done, no matter how much raw material you have. The conversion from sunlight or supplement into usable vitamin D is a two-step process, first in the liver, then in the kidneys. Both steps rely on enzymes. And those enzymes, they're magnesium-dependent. Let me say that again clearly. Your body can't activate vitamin D without magnesium, no exceptions. This isn't a theory, it's biochemistry. If you don't have enough magnesium available, those enzymes work slower or not at all. That means the vitamin D you take or make from the sun just sits idle in your bloodstream, unable to do its job. And that's just the beginning. Magnesium also regulates the vitamin D receptors, tiny docking stations in your cells that allow vitamin D to bind and signal. So it doesn't just activate the D, it also makes sure your body can use it effectively once it's active. Without enough magnesium, you could be flooding your system with D3 and still not getting the benefits. There's more. In 2018, a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that people with adequate magnesium levels needed less vitamin D to maintain healthy levels and were less likely to suffer from D-toxicity when taking supplements. In other words, magnesium makes vitamin D safer and more efficient. And yet, hardly anyone is talking about this. Why? Because it's not as simple as take a pill. It involves nutrient synergy, how vitamins and minerals work together, not in isolation. So what happens when magnesium is low? You end up with a cascade of issues. Your D3 supplements don't convert properly. Your calcium absorption falters, putting stress on bones and muscles. Inflammation goes unchecked. Fatigue, brain fog, mood changes, and pain start creeping in, and no one can explain why. That's the trap many people fall into. You're following the rules, you're getting your blood work, but without magnesium in the picture, vitamin D can't do its job, and neither can you. Coming up next, how do you know if you're low in magnesium? I'll show you the symptoms, the subtle signs most doctors overlook, and what your current habits might be doing without you even realizing it. Now that you know magnesium is essential for activating vitamin D, the next question is obvious. How do you know if you're low? Here's the tough part. Magnesium deficiency is often silent. You won't always feel it as a sudden symptom. Instead, it builds over time, showing up in small, frustrating ways that often get misdiagnosed or brushed off as just aging. Let's walk through some of the most common signs your body might be waving the red flag. First, there's chronic fatigue even after a full night's sleep. If you're getting rest but still feel drained by mid-morning, magnesium could be the missing energy gear. That's because magnesium is essential for ATP production, the chemical fuel your cells use to function. Without enough, your body simply can't make energy efficiently. Next, there's muscle cramping or twitching, especially in your calves, feet, or hands. If you've ever had that annoying eye twitch or woken up with a leg cramp that stops you in your tracks, low magnesium is a likely suspect. It regulates how calcium moves in and out of muscle cells, so when it's missing, muscles misfire. Then comes the anxiety or mood changes that sneak up on you. Magnesium plays a calming role in the nervous system. It literally helps regulate stress hormones and supports GABA, a calming brain chemical. So, if you feel more irritable, restless, or overwhelmed lately, it might not be just stress, it could be a mineral imbalance. You might also notice irregular heartbeat, especially when you're lying down or after drinking caffeine, or frequent headaches that feel like tension building in your neck and shoulders. Now here's something that trips up a lot of people. Lab results can look normal even if you're functionally deficient. Why? Because the standard serum magnesium test only measures about 1% of your body's magnesium, the amount circulating in your blood. The other 99% is stored in bones and tissues, and that doesn't show up on routine labs. So you could be walking around with symptoms, fatigue, cramps, foggy thinking, while your doctor says everything looks fine. That's frustrating. And that's why we need to rely on symptoms and context, not just numbers on a page. There's one more piece here, and it's a big one: medications. Several common prescriptions deplete magnesium over time, including proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole for heartburn, diuretics for high blood pressure or swelling, antibiotics like gentamicin, even some diabetes medications. If you're on any of those, especially long-term, you may be losing magnesium faster than your diet can replace it. So if your joints are aching, your sleep feels off, or your energy crashes midday, don't just blame age. Look under the hood, because magnesium may be the one missing link that connects your symptoms, your lab frustration, and your unresponsive vitamin D. Coming up next, I'll explain why all the sunlight in the world might not fix your D problem, and how skin changes, aging, and even timing are making go outside more the wrong advice for many older adults. So now you're probably thinking, can I just get more sun and fix all this? That's the advice most people hear, especially after a low vitamin D test. Go outside more, take a walk, roll up your sleeves. It sounds simple, but here's the truth most practitioners overlook. For adults over 50 or 60, sunlight is no longer a guarantee for healthy vitamin D levels. Why? Because your body's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight drops sharply with age. The skin, the very surface that reacts to UVB rays and kicks off D, production thins with time. That means fewer vitamin D precursors in the skin and less capacity to convert sunlight into usable D3. In fact, research shows that a 70-year-old makes about 25% of the vitamin D from the same amount of sun that a 20-year-old would. So even if you're getting sun daily, the output just isn't what it used to be. There's more. Your location matters. If you live north of Atlanta or anywhere with long winters, the angle of the sun isn't strong enough for meaningful D production during several months of the year. You can sit in the sun for hours and not make a drop of vitamin D if it's the wrong season or even the wrong time of day. Then add in the basics of aging: thinner skin, more time spent indoors, clothing that covers arms and legs, and cautious use of sunscreen, which, by the way, blocks over 90% of UVB absorption. So here's the bottom line. Sunlight alone is not enough anymore, especially if you're over 60, have darker skin, or live far from the equator. And even if you do get sun, it still doesn't fix the magnesium issue, because remember, sunlight gives you inactive D3. Your body still needs to convert and activate it, and that process requires magnesium. So when people say just get outside more, it's often too little, too late, and missing the deeper picture. You could be doing everything right on the outside and still stay deficient on the inside. That's why some people take 2,000 IU, 5,000 IU, even 10,000 IU of vitamin D and still feel no better. They don't have a sun problem, they have an activation problem. And without magnesium, their D stays stuck in neutral. Up next, I'll walk you through why your vitamin D supplement might not be working and what to check before you increase your dose, especially if you've been taking it for months with little to no result. Let's say you're already taking a vitamin D supplement. You picked it up because your doctor told you your levels were low, or maybe you started on your own hoping it would boost your mood, bones, or energy. But months have passed and nothing's really changed. Here's why that might be happening. You're taking the right pill, but your body can't use it. First, let's talk about the type of vitamin D you're probably taking. Most over-the-counter supplements contain vitamin D3, also called cholecalciferol. That's good, it's the preferred form. It's more effective than D2, which is often used in fortified foods or outdated prescriptions. But even D3 is still inactive. It needs to be converted first in your liver, then in your kidneys into calcitriol, the active form your body can actually use. And as we've already covered, magnesium is required for both of those steps. So if your magnesium levels are low, and remember, that's extremely common after 50, your supplement just sits there, partially processed, never fully activated. That's not the only issue. Many D3 supplements are missing key co-nutrients that help with absorption and activation. That includes magnesium, of course, vitamin K2, which helps direct calcium to bones and away from arteries, and sometimes even fat, since D3 is fat soluble and needs dietary fat for optimal absorption. If you're popping your D3 with black coffee and toast, you're likely absorbing a fraction of what's on the label. Then there's dosage confusion. More is not always better. Some people take 5,000 IU or even 10,000 IU daily for months without knowing whether their body is even using it. That can build up, and while rare, too much inactive vitamin D without magnesium to convert it can lead to calcium imbalance, kidney strain, or arterial calcification over time. That's what makes this so tricky. You might have been told, just take more. But the real fix isn't upping the dose, it's optimizing the pathway. In fact, a major 2018 randomized trial found that when people had adequate magnesium levels, they needed less vitamin D to achieve the same result. It amplified the benefits, improved absorption, and made it safer overall. So here's the bottom line. If your vitamin D supplement isn't working, the problem might not be the D, it might be what's missing around it, especially magnesium. Next, I'll show you exactly what those magnesium-rich foods are, what to avoid, and how to stop sabotaging your own absorption without realizing it. If you want your vitamin D to finally start working, the fastest fix is to replenish magnesium from real food. But not all magnesium-rich foods are created equal, and many people unknowingly cancel out their efforts with a few common mistakes. Let's start with the good news. Magnesium is found in a lot of everyday natural foods. The top sources? Pumpkin seeds. Just 1 ounce delivers nearly 150 milligrams of magnesium. That's over a third of your daily need. Cooked, not raw. Half a cup of steamed spinach gives you around 80 milligram almonds, about 80 milligram per ounce, and pairs well with protein for sustained energy. Avocados. 1 whole avocado gives you around 60 milligram, along with healthy fats for better D absorption. Black beans and edamame. Excellent plant-based choices, especially when paired with whole grains. Aim to include at least 2 magnesium-rich foods per meal. Think a smoothie with spinach and almond butter for breakfast, a salad with avocado and pumpkin seeds for lunch. black bean soup with leafy greens for dinner. But here's where people go wrong. 3 magnesium mistakes I see all the time. Mistake A: overcooking vegetables. Boiling greens for too long causes magnesium to leach into the water. If you toss that water, you're tossing the mineral. Light, steam, or saute, don't boil it to death. Mistake number 2, relying on multivitamins. Most multivitamins contain less than 100 milligram of magnesium, and it's usually the poorly absorbed oxide form. That's a backup, not a foundation. You can't out-supplement a weak diet. Mistake number 3, eating too much calcium without balance. Calcium and magnesium compete for absorption. If you're loading up on calcium supplements or dairy, but not balancing with magnesium, you could actually make absorption worse. The ideal ratio is about 2 to 1 calcium to magnesium, but most people get 4 to 1 or even 5 to 1. So what's the sweet spot? Adults over 50 should aim for 320 to 420 milligram of magnesium per day, ideally from food. Supplements can help, but food comes first. Why? Because those foods also bring fiber, antioxidants, and gut-friendly benefits that pills can't replicate. Coming up next, I'll walk you through which magnesium supplements actually work, how to avoid common side effects like loose stools, and how to time them to avoid interference with medications. Now, if you're not getting enough magnesium from food, or if you're dealing with symptoms that suggest a deeper deficiency, it might be time to consider supplementation. But this is where many people get tripped up. Not all magnesium supplements are created equal, and some can do more harm than good if you pick the wrong type or dose. Let's start with the best forms for older adults. Magnesium glycinate. This is often the top choice for seniors. It's gentle on the stomach, well absorbed, and doesn't cause loose stools. Even better, it has a calming effect, helping with sleep, anxiety, and nighttime muscle cramps. If you feel wired at night or have trouble staying asleep, glycinate is your go-to. Magnesium citrate. This one is more common and also fairly well absorbed. It can help with constipation and regularity, but be careful with the dose. It's easy to overdo and wind up running to the bathroom. Start low and go slow. Magnesium malate. This form may support energy production and muscle recovery. It's a good option if you feel sluggish, achy, or sore, especially after physical activity. It's gentle and energizing without being jittery. Avoid these two. Magnesium oxide. It's cheap, poorly absorbed, and often used as a filler. Over 90% of it passes through your system unused, and it commonly causes diarrhea. Magnesium sulfate, salt, fine for a bath soak, but not ideal for oral use unless prescribed. When to take it? Evening is ideal, especially for calming types like glycinate. Take it with food to improve absorption and reduce GI discomfort. Avoid taking it within 2 hours of thyroid meds, bisphosphonates, or certain antibiotics, since magnesium can bind and block absorption. How much to take? Most people do well starting with 200 to 300 milligram daily, divided into 2 doses. Always start on the lower end, especially if you're sensitive to laxatives or prone to GI issues. And always check with your clinician first. If you have kidney disease, heart rhythm disorders, or take medications that affect mineral levels, magnesium supplementation needs to be carefully supervised. In the next section, I'll show you how to safely use sunlight as a supplement, not a sole strategy, and how to build a smart, age-adjusted sun routine that supports vitamin D without the guesswork. Now, let's get back to the sun. Even though it's not the full solution, it's still a valuable tool if you use it right. The key is to treat sunlight like a prescription, not a passive habit. You want just enough UVB exposure to stimulate vitamin D production without overdoing it or relying on it as your only source. So here's how to build a safe, effective sunlight routine, especially if you're over 60. 1. Go out mid-morning around 10 to 11 a.m. This is the sweet spot. The UVB rays are strong enough to trigger vitamin D production, but not so intense that you're risking burns or skin damage. Early morning or late afternoon sun simply doesn't produce much D. 2. Expose arms and legs. skip the face. You don't need full body sunbathing. Just 15-20 minutes with forearms or lower legs uncovered is often enough, especially if you have fair skin. Darker skin may need slightly longer, but everyone should avoid prolonged, unprotected exposure. Keep your face protected. That's where most skin damage occurs over time. 3. Skip sunscreen, but only during that short window. Sunscreen blocks UVB rays, the same rays you need to make vitamin D. So if you're doing a 15-minute walk for D production, go without sunscreen on those exposed limbs, then reapply if you're staying outside longer. 4. Pair sun exposure with movement. Here's a bonus tip. When you walk in the sun, you're not only producing D, you're boosting blood flow, circulation, and even lymphatic detox. Your muscles act like pumps, helping nutrients distribute and toxins drain. Sun plus walk equals double win. 5. Be consistent, not heroic. This isn't about sunbathing once a week. It's about brief, frequent exposure, just a few minutes per day, 4 or 5 days a week. That's far more effective than one long session. 6. Watch the season. If you live north of Atlanta, from about November through March, you won't make meaningful vitamin D from sunlight, no matter how sunny it looks. That's when supplementation becomes non-negotiable. 7. Hydrate and protect after. Always drink water before and after sun time. And after your short exposure window, cover up or apply sunscreen if you're staying outdoors. Remember, the goal isn't tanning, it's targeted, intentional support for your metabolism. When done right, this kind of sunlight strategy supports, not replaces, your supplement and food-based efforts. It gives you a natural D boost, helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle, and even supports mood and immunity. Next up, let's tackle what your labs are really telling you or hiding from you. Because not all vitamin D or magnesium levels on paper reflect what's going on in your cells. I'll show you what to test, what to question, and how to read between the lines. Now let's talk about lab work, because if you've ever looked at your test results and thought, why do I still feel off? You're not alone. First up, vitamin D labs. Most doctors order a blood test called 25-hydroxyvitamin D, or 25-OAD. That's the storage form of vitamin D. It tells you how much inactive vitamin D is floating in your bloodstream. It's helpful, but here's what most people don't realize. This test doesn't show how well your body is actually using vitamin D. In other words, you could have a level of 35 or 40 technically normal and still be functionally deficient if you're not converting it into the active form. You could also be supplementing and watching your number go up but not feeling any better because the underlying cofactor magnesium is still low. So if your 25-OAT test is low, don't just reach for a higher dose of D. Ask the next question, what's blocking activation? That brings us to magnesium. Here's where it gets even trickier. The most common lab test for magnesium, serum magnesium, is almost useless for detecting early deficiency. Why? Because only about 1% of your body's magnesium is in your blood. The rest is locked away in muscles, bones, and organs exactly where it needs to be for vitamin D activation. So it's entirely possible, common, in fact, to have a normal serum magnesium level while your tissues are starving. What's better? If available, request RBC magnesium. This test measures the magnesium inside your red blood cells, and it's far more reflective of your true status. Parathyroid hormone, PTH, and calcium levels, these can offer indirect clues, since magnesium impacts how these are regulated in your body. Now here's the real-world problem. Most doctors don't check magnesium at all, let alone PTH or the active vitamin D form, Calcitriol 1, 25-dihydroxyvitamin D. That means you might be managing your health based on incomplete information. So what can you do? Start by tracking symptoms and lifestyle. If you're fatigued, cramping, foggy, or taking medications that deplete magnesium, don't wait for a lab to give you permission. Start replenishing with food, and if needed, the right supplement. Then retest vitamin D every 8-12 weeks if you're adjusting your dose, but always track how you feel, not just what the numbers say. Next, I'll show you how this all plays out in real life with a case study of someone who took vitamin D for years but didn't see results until they fixed their magnesium. Let me show you how this plays out in real life, because chances are you know someone just like this. Maybe it's you. A patient I'll call Margaret, age 6'7", came to me with a long list of everyday complaints: low energy, achy legs, trouble staying asleep, and persistent feelings of brain fog. She'd been diligent about her health. She walked daily, ate clean, and had been taking 2,000 IU of vitamin D every morning for over a year on her doctor's orders. But her D levels, still low. Her labs hovered in the high 22nd to low 32nd, not dangerously deficient, but nowhere near optimal. Worse, she still felt exhausted by noon, her muscles cramped at night. She couldn't think clearly, and her mood had dipped into low-grade depression. Her doctor's next step? Double your vitamin D. But before she did that, Margaret came to me for a second opinion. We looked deeper. Her medication list included a proton pump inhibitor for reflux and a thiazide diuretic for blood pressure, 2 drugs known to deplete magnesium. Her diet, though healthy, was low in seeds, nuts, and legumes. She rarely ate dark leafy greens, and she'd been limiting dairy and carbs, thinking it would help with inflammation. The magnesium writing was on the wall. We tested her RBC magnesium, and sure enough, it was low. Not dangerously low, but low enough to block vitamin D activation. That was the real reason her supplement wasn't working. So we shifted strategy. Instead of pushing more D, we added 250 milligram of magnesium glycinate daily, split into 2 doses with meals. We adjusted her meals to include a magnesium-rich smoothie for breakfast, avocado with lunch, and sautéed greens at dinner. We also added 15 minutes of morning sun to her daily walk. Within 2 weeks, Margaret reported deeper sleep. Her legs stopped cramping. Within 4 weeks, her energy had lifted and her mood stabilized. At her 8-week follow-up, her vitamin D level had climbed to 42 ng/ml. Same supplement, same dose. The only change? Magnesium. She finally felt like her efforts were paying off. And that's the point. You might be doing everything right. You might be taking your D, walking in the sun, watching your diet. But if you're low in magnesium, it's like trying to start your car without a key. Nothing moves. Up next, I'll give you a quick safety rundown. Who should be cautious with magnesium? What side effects to watch for? And how to avoid problems if you're managing multiple medications or chronic conditions. Now, before you rush to load up on magnesium, let's talk safety. Because while magnesium is generally very well tolerated, especially from food, there are cases where caution is critical. The first red flag? Kidney issues. If you have chronic kidney disease or reduced kidney function, your body may not clear excess magnesium efficiently. That means what's normally a helpful supplement can actually build up in your bloodstream, leading to symptoms like low blood pressure, confusion, slowed heart rate, or in extreme cases, cardiac arrest. This doesn't mean magnesium is off limits, but you must work with your clinician to monitor dosage and blood levels. Food sources are usually safe. Supplements, however, require supervision. Next, be cautious if you're taking diuretics like furosemide or hydrochlorothiazide. These can deplete or concentrate magnesium depending on the type. Heart rhythm medications like digoxin, magnesium can interact and affect heart rate control. Certain antibiotics, magnesium binds to some drugs in the gut and can block absorption. So if you're taking any prescription medications, especially for heart, kidneys, or infections, space magnesium supplements at least 2-4 hours apart, unless told otherwise. Another note, loose stools or diarrhea are the most common side effects of magnesium, especially if you take too much, too fast, or choose a poorly absorbed form like oxide or sulfate. That's why starting with a low dose, 200-250 milligram, and increasing slowly is key. Also important, don't assume more is better. Taking 600 and 800 milligram daily just in case won't supercharge your system. It'll just strain your gut and kidneys. Aim for balance, not overload. Finally, some people don't need extra magnesium at all. If your diet is already rich in seeds, nuts, greens, and legumes, and you're not on depleting meds, your levels may be fine. That's why testing, symptoms, and food intake all matter. Coming up next, we'll pull it all together with a recap, and I'll give you a simple 7-day reset plan to help you start turning things around safely starting this week. Let's bring this all home. By now, you understand that vitamin D doesn't work alone. It's not just about how much sun you get or how many IUs you swallow. It's about whether your body can use it. And the key to that activation process? Magnesium. We've covered the essential truth. If your magnesium is low, which is common after 60, your vitamin D will likely underperform. You might show up low on labs. You might feel tired, weak, moody, or foggy. You might take more and more D, but never feel the difference. That's because the real issue isn't just getting enough D, it's unlocking it, and magnesium is the lockpick. You've learned what vitamin D actually does in your body, how magnesium powers the entire conversion process, why your sun exposure or supplement might not be helping, the foods that boost magnesium naturally, the best supplement types for older adults, what labs show and what they miss, and who needs to be cautious before supplementing. Now let's turn insight into action with your 7-day DMG reset plan. This is designed to gently restore your magnesium stores, support vitamin D activation, and help you feel the difference without overdoing anything. Your 7-day DMG reset plan. Day 1-3, track plus load. Add 2 magnesium-rich foods per day. Try pumpkin seeds, spinach, or black beans. Drink an extra glass of water with each meal. Hydration helps cellular magnesium uptake. Take a 15-minute mid-morning walk with forearms or legs exposed, no sunscreen during this window. Day 4-5, supplement plus pair. Start a magnesium glycinate supplement, 250 milligram daily, taken with dinner. Pair your vitamin D supplement with a magnesium-rich breakfast or lunch and include a fat source like avocado or eggs. Continue daily movement and light sun exposure. Day 6-7, reflect plus adjust. Track changes in energy, sleep, mood, and cramping. Continue magnesium foods and supplement. Adjust vitamin D dose only if advised by your provider and never without knowing your baseline. This is not a crash course. It's a steady reset. Most people start noticing improvements in sleep, energy, or digestion within 1-2 weeks, but real results come from consistency, not intensity.